Hello, everybody, and welcome. We're going to give this just a second for everybody to be able to file in. We have a nice big room today. I hear it's absolutely gorgeous down in Monterey, so I have envy.
You need to bring your offices to Monterey County.
You're absolutely right about that. I mean, there is a thing called working remotely that seems to be all the trend. So
I think we'll talk a little bit about that.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for being here, everybody. And welcome to What Employers Need Today, sponsored by the Monterey County Workforce Development Board. My name is Tara Brennan, and I'm the events manager here at CEA. Before we start the webinar today, I just want to go over a couple of housekeeping details with you. Your audio will be muted. So if you have any questions pertaining to the presentation, go ahead and put those in the Q&A box, and I'll be kind of monitoring that. If you have any technical difficulties, or if you needed the handouts, perhaps you didn't get them for whatever reason, put your email address in the chat box, and I will go ahead and send those out to you as well. We do have a quick 30-second survey at the end of this, so please do take that because your feedback is really helpful to us. We really want to make sure that we are providing you with the best webinar experience that we possibly can, so that helps us out. And now I would like to go ahead and introduce Jerry Hernandez, the Business Service Manager at the Monterey County Workforce Development Board. Jerry, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Tara. I appreciate it. First of all, I'd like to welcome each and every one of you here this afternoon. The Monterey County Workforce Development Board is a workforce board that's here to help you. And we recognize, given the times that we're living in, employers are having challenges, and we want to help to stabilize, strengthen, and grow based on the services that are free to you that we offer. You're going to see here the three boxes: recruitment, training, and other service and resources that we provide. Under the recruitment, we have services such as job and career fairs. We've been using over the last year now the virtual job fairs as well as live job fairs. However, we're finding that given the circumstances with COVID, you do have the resources, and they become very popular, of using the free online services. And I'll talk about a job fair that we have coming up later on after the meeting. We also then have the customized employer recruitment events, which means we can work with you on a one-to-one basis. And we have a job board and other promotional activities. So if you have job postings, we can do that for you at no charge. So those would help you in your recruitment efforts. Training efforts, we have a program called Incumbent Worker Training Program. And that program is structured so that if you have existing employees that have been with you for the last 12 months on a full-time basis, you can be able to get training funds available to you, and we would cover those costs. So it's a way of you upscaling your workforce. We provide on-the-job training and layoff aversion services as well. And then other services and resources include small business grants. In fact, we are in the process, starting in a couple of months, of providing small micro business grants, about $2,500 that will be available. We also have the human resource hotline that Keisha will be speaking about momentarily. Resource and referrals. So if individuals are looking at starting a business, we can help them look at resources around that. And we recognize that at times, there are times when you have to lay off individuals. We have what we call rapid response. We work with EDD to help your employees know about other existing services. The next slide will provide you with my contact information. I invite you to please either call me or email me. And there's our website address as well. We have information that I think would be useful to you. And I look forward to meeting you personally. And with that, I'd like to hand over the agenda to Keisha, and she'll be able to talk more about a very important and useful resource to use an employer that usually you have to pay for.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Tara. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to our topic, What Employers Need Today. A bit of a loaded title, I would say, but happy to be here with you. And as Tara mentioned, we want this to be as interactive as possible, even though we don't see or hear each other. So please do feel free to enter any questions, any insights into the Q&A. That makes it more interactive for myself as well as for you all. You have a wealth of knowledge and experiences, and we really want to bring those experiences together. We are so excited to partner with Monterey County Workforce Development Board in providing you employers complimentary human resource hotline. So this number that you see on the screen is specifically for employers in Monterey County, and you can call us at this number, CEA, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and actually a live person will answer the phone and direct you to one of our HR advisors. So we provide resources for any compliance questions you may have. It could be as easy as, gosh, I don't remember what the minimum wage is. It could be more complex, like I'm not sure if I need to lay this person off or I need to do an investigation. So call that number. As Jerry said, this is at no cost to you. It's provided by your tax dollars. So you can ask us any questions HR related, and we will do the best to provide you guidance along the way. We all know, as Jerry stated, we're in still unprecedented times, so we want to be there to help you out. And if you're not familiar with California Employers Association, we are a human resource association. We've been in business for over 80 years, and we're headquartered in Sacramento. And basically, our goal is to provide the business members that we have, the employers that we work with throughout the state of California, peace of mind. And who doesn't need a peace of mind right now, or peace of mind, I must say, with any issues related to HR compliance, COVID-19 updates, training, which we're experiencing today. We also do recruiting as well. Those were some great resources that the Workforce Development Board has as well. So any kind of help you need, I would bounce on that and take us all up on those resources that you can offer to you. And this isn't really a compliance-based presentation today, but whether or not it is or not, our lawyers always remind us to tell you that this presentation should not be relied upon as legal advice. If you do have any issues coming up in your business or your employer, make sure to seek out legal counsel. And if you need some referral or recommendation on legal counsel, feel free to call us at that 800, that hotline 800 number, because we do partner with lawyers throughout the state of California. So if you need a referral, give us a call. If you have a question, give us a call. We're happy to help. This is what this partnership is all about. So with that said, as I said, this is kind of a loaded title, What Employers Need Today. And of course, there's so many factors that go into that. So what we're going to really focus on is how are we going to navigate now that we've had remote and hybrid work as a business, as an employer? How are you going to bring people back to work? How are you going to decide if you want to bring people back to work? So we'll touch a little bit on what companies are doing, what trends are happening right now. We are experiencing the Great Resignation. Hopefully you all are doing okay, but we'll talk about that if you're not. And recruiting is looking quite different. I mean, I can think back to 2020 and when we were having all of the layoffs, all of the furloughs, and we work with job seekers, we work with job centers throughout the state of California, and we were helping them, trying to get them jobs. And now the tables have turned. The ball is in the job seekers' court. There are so many job opportunities, and how do you stand out? So hopefully we'll give you some tips. And again, hopefully we'll get tips from you. No matter what presentation or training I'm doing, I always learn as much, if not more, from my attendees. So hopefully you won't feel shy in giving us your expertise today. And finally, we just want to provide some strategies for continued success in your businesses, continued success for you as employers, as we are experiencing a great transformation of the workplace. Employees during the pandemic really had an opportunity to reassess their work lives, their personal lives. And as a result, many of them left their employers and looked towards other opportunities. We've seen many employees burnt out from the pandemic and their jobs. We've seen people thrive through remote and hybrid work, and we've seen people not thrive so well, or businesses not thrive so well having remote workers and hybrid situations. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And again, hopefully we'll give you some tips along the way. So with that said, I kind of want to get a gauge of where you all are at. And I want to ask you this question, and I'm going to put it up on a poll. This is anonymous, so just answer honestly. We're not going to have your name recorded or anything. But what is one of your biggest challenges right now as an employer, as a manager, as a supervisor, however you're showing up today? What is a challenge that you're experiencing? And I'm going to put up the poll right now so you can answer. And of course, as I said, there's so many factors involved that it may not even be on this poll what you're experiencing in the area of where you're working. Yeah, so far, it's not going to be a shocker. It's B, ongoing COVID surges and policy changes. It's almost daily, it's almost hourly at times. So it's a lot to deal with, which is another great reason that you have this benefit to give us a call at CEA, our HR advisors. That's what they do. They stay updated on what changes are going on with COVID-19, with the CDC, with Cal OSHA. So you can always give us a call if you're unsure of what to do. So let's see, I think 100% says answered. Recruiting new employees. So far it's ongoing COVID 57%, recruiting new employees 29%, hiring employees with specific skills 13%. So good information there. So quickly. So hopefully we'll touch on a few of these that can hopefully help you with this. And again, get your insights during this, but it's always good to know where you're at. And you're not alone. We're all going through this. As a recruiter for CEA, we've had a couple of positions that we're really struggling to get candidates for, and having to be creative and innovative with how we get those candidates. So you're not in this alone, is what I want you to know. So as we said, we are in a transformation of the workplace, and it really seems like the 9-to-5 day-to-day workplace is really getting antiquated and outdated, and it's not working for a lot of people. And a lot of employees had an opportunity to work remotely, work hybrid during the pandemic, and a lot of them are saying, gosh, this gave me some flexibility. I was able to take care of my younger children at home and still work. I was able to take care of a loved one. I like this flexibility. Even though we know that remote work is not always an option for all employers and all businesses. You are going to have some employees who need to be in front of a customer or at an on-site location to do their work. But what we're really seeing with the remote and hybrid work model is that employers are reevaluating that 9-to-5 schedule, that you have to be here this amount of time, this many days a week. And if you read the news, or you go on LinkedIn, or you read the newspaper, companies are reevaluating and they're responding to what employees want. And one of those is flexibility in their schedules. And that can mean remote work, that can mean working hybrid, that can mean job sharing with someone else, so I can have a couple of days to be with my family, or to be with my small children, or to be with someone that I'm caring for. It can be a 4-day work week, which some companies are committing to, a 4-day work week, so people have more time than just to do their chores and clean their homes on the weekends. So it's opening up. So this is really an opportunity for businesses and employers, especially if you are kind of struggling with getting new employees on board. board, what can you offer? What can you, how can you adjust, and how can you adapt to what employees are looking for? And at the beginning of the pandemic, we worked with some job centers when there was a lot of layoffs, and we were working with job seekers, and they really adapted really quickly to matching the virtual options to connect the job seekers and businesses, as Jerry mentioned, having the virtual job fairs. And we did a program with some job seekers, and just keeping in mind that not all job seekers have all of that technology to connect virtually. So keeping in mind that you want to be able to provide them opportunities to use the technology that maybe they don't have at home. And just knowing that work is already not looking the same. I'm sure if you're still working remotely, if you're working a hybrid, it just doesn't look the same. We've adapted to technology. The good news is that we're very resilient as human beings, and we've adapted fairly well. But now is the time to say, what's really working for our business? What's really working for our employees, and putting that into our business models and our business organizations. So as I said, a lot of employees were starting to work remotely in 2020. It went up at the beginning of March 2020. Remote workers was at 31%, and within a month it skyrocketed to 62%. And now employees are saying they would be willing to move to another company if it meant having more flexibility. So a lot of employees got a little taste of that flexibility in their schedules, and being able to incorporate their whole lives based on their schedule. And now they're saying, gosh, I want a flexible work schedule. And so trying to figure out what can that mean for your business or you as an employer. 89% of workers surveyed feel flexible work should be the standard, not a benefit. So how do we go about incorporating that for those employees that can work remotely, that we can allow to work in a hybrid situation? And what are going to be the benefits of that to us as employers and businesses? And some employees say they want a job with no set hours. You know, again, the 9 to 5. I want to be able to work when I want to work. This has led some employees to pursuing entrepreneurship or finding those companies that are offering more flexible schedules. Obviously, employees who maybe work on more project-based assignments can say, gosh, I really excel at nighttime, so I'd prefer to work at nighttime, or I like to work early in the morning. Making sure that you're adapting, but that it's working for you as a business and as an employer as well, and that you're agreeing to those not set schedules, and that that person is agreeing that they're going to be available when you really need them to be available. So these are some of the things we're seeing. Also, 77% of workers still want the chance to work outside the office during the week. So there we talk about that hybrid model of, I want to be able to work from home or maybe some other location and also come into work a couple of days a week. And what about productivity? Because I know pre-pandemic, we still had remote work. It still existed. It's been around for over 20 years, and a lot of people have been successful at it, but some businesses were kind of hesitant about allowing employees to work remotely because they had that fear of, are they going to be productive? If I don't see Tara every day in the office, how do I know she's getting her work done? And what we've seen through this survey that was done by Fuse, which is a collaboration and software company, they did a survey about 8,800 employees around the globe. And what they found was 86% of respondents said they overall felt as or more productive as they did before the pandemic. And they surveyed frontline workers, office workers, and senior leadership. So about 50% of frontline workers said they felt as or more productive. Office workers was about 59%, and senior leadership said 74%. Now, some of those, I would imagine, already had some remote models in already set. And also, one of the biggest factors of them feeling productive or more productive was that there was that element of trust. So if you have companies that are employees that are saying, yeah, I feel that were as productive. They've established those professional relationships. They've established that trust so that they know that their employees are getting the work done. They've set the guidelines. They've set the roadmap. Now, for some of us, we didn't have a roadmap of working remotely and what that looked like and what the schedules would be. And so it has been more challenging. We've definitely worked with some of our members at CEA who are like, I don't know what, how to set a guideline for this person to get work done, or how to communicate with them when I can't see them, or how often I should communicate with them. And there's no black or white answer to that. It is kind of gray, but having communication when you're working remotely or hybrid is so important. It's so important to have that ongoing communication and to find out, how do your employees want to be communicated with? You might have a very highly skilled employee that has been in that position for many years who can say, let me do my job, check in with me maybe once a week, and I'll be okay. And they will produce for you. So finding out from your employees, doing a survey, seeing how they want to be communicated with. Some people respond well to this virtual world that we're in. Some people like a phone call. Some people just need you to check in with them on emails. So really, if you didn't have that chance as a business or as an employer to really set those guidelines and the strategy for how you were going to navigate a remote or hybrid world, now is the time to kind of step back and say, okay, if we're going to keep doing this ongoing, then we need to put in some procedures and some protocol for how we're going to hold people accountable, and how we're going to know that people are being productive, because that's usually the biggest fear. So once you do establish whether you're going to have a remote and a hybrid model for your business or as an employer, there's a lot of benefits to it. When employees can work a hybrid or a flexible work schedule and they work where they want during the hours that they want to work, usually it increases their job satisfaction. They don't feel stuck as much when they know that they have that flexibility, or they have more time on the weekends if they have a 4-day work week. It definitely can expand your availability to clients, as we've seen at CEA. So in training and development, we went from mainly training on site to our businesses to going 100% virtual in March of 2020. And we're just starting to get back into the on-site trainings. But one thing that we learned from that was it really expanded the number of people who were able to attend our trainings and our webinars. So on a Zoom webinar, we can have up to 500 people attend, which is phenomenal. And for some of those heavy duty compliance ones, we have had up to 300 or 400 people attending our webinars. We used to go on site throughout the state of California, which you all know is very expansive and can take a lot of time. And some of our business members who were located a little bit more remotely geographically responded to us after our virtual webinars and said, gosh, this is so great. It's so amazing that I can actually attend these when I wasn't able to before because of where I was located geographically. So we think of that if you've had to contact your medical facilities and you've had a telehealth appointment, that's some of the things that technology has brought to us, just that expanded availability to serve our clients. Being able to attract and retain highly skilled employees. They don't necessarily have to be located in the same state, in the same city, in the same county anymore. You can hire remotely, and a lot of the businesses that we work with are actually currently expanding. We have one business located in Pasadena, and they just notified us that they're going global. They had employees in California and a few other states in the United States, and now they're expanding globally. So they have that ability to hire those employees from abroad because of this virtual technology, because of the ability to work remotely and from anywhere. In general, if that's what employees want, they're going to bring you loyalty, and they're going to be engaged, and they're going to improve their performance because they're working schedules that they want to work. They're working where they want to work. And it's not for everybody. We'll talk a little bit about that too. And then as a business, it can cost you savings. You can have reduced absenteeism, reduced turnover, and real estate. If you do condense maybe your business, you don't need all those offices or the office space that you once needed before. So it really is something to consider. If you were doing it temporarily because of COVID, what do employees want? What's going to work for your business? And what things do you have to put in place to make sure it's successful? So as I said, it's not for everybody. And a lot of employers really do want to bring employees back to work. Maybe they didn't have the protocols in place, or maybe they just really missed their employees, or there's aspects of their industry that they really need people on site. Gallup, which is an organization that we really promote, they are an organization that does research. They're usually come up during the elections, but they've done over 40 years of research on employee engagement and what keeps employee engaged. And one of the things they found of having employees working on site is connection. Right? There's nothing that replaces face-to-face. And even if I could see your faces on screen, which would be great, which would be awesome, there's still that barrier that prevents us from really having that connection, that human connection, seeing the body language, feeling the energy when you're in the same room as someone, and employees miss that. So that's why a lot of companies are doing that hybrid work model. The connection of just being able to see your best friend at work, that can really help engagement. Being able to interact, being able to have lunch together, being able to have those regular conversations that we used to say existed by the water cooler, right? Being able to do that again can really build engagement for a team. So being able to get together 1 or 2 days a week, or what is best for your team, really can boost engagement and can boost the team building. And then when you are on site together, it sometimes can be easier to collaborate with others. It can be a natural collaboration of just seeing someone across the room saying, "Hey, Tara, can I ask your opinion on this?" Being able to, if you are in a department where you are a bit more interdependent on each other. I think of our marketing team, and we have a graphic designer, and we have someone who works on the website, and they need to be interdependent on each other and actually see each other and be in the same space at times. So when you do work a hybrid, you can be more strategic about it and say, when I go into the office, this is what I'm going to work on. When I'm at home, this is what I'm going to work on, to see what is going to be the best model for you. And just being in a different space can be a template for creativity, right? Being in a different space with more people, building on other people's energy and other people's innovation can really help a team. So that could be also more strategic and saying, okay, when we are on site together, we're going to do brainstorming. We're going to work on projects together. We're going to set our goals together. And then maybe we set aside time to work remotely when we have independent work that we can do. So it really can be set up for success. And then we have encountered so many employees through our trainings in the last 2 years virtually who have told us that they have started new jobs and they have never actually met their managers or their team workers in person. And when you're not going on site and you're not meeting those people in person, you may not have a real true sense of an employee culture, or just even on your own team, how people's work styles are, right? When you see people consistently in person, on site, even working together on the road or wherever you are at, you kind of get a sense, you gather a sense of their work style. So that would be really important for a new employee to get a sense of the culture by going on site. Again, I mean, we've had many employees who still are able to get a sense of that culture, but it does enhance, it does improve on getting an insight when you're a newer employee. And a lot of businesses are hiring employees right now, so they want to onboard them properly. So that's the case for bringing employees back to work. But before coming back to the office, obviously a business has to say, how are we going to welcome people back safely? So again, you want to consider, what are the requirements for the CDC? What are the requirements for Cal OSHA? And you want to communicate that with your employees on an ongoing basis. They want to know, what are you doing as an employer to make sure things are safe for us? And we've seen with the Great Resignation that some employees were evaluating how did their leaders navigate the pandemic. Were they really thinking of safety? Were they really communicating all of the changes that were going to be made regarding the pandemic? And some of them said, I didn't think they did a great job, so I'm going to go find work elsewhere. And then if you are on site or hybrid, what is the strategy going to be? What is the requirement going to be? Maybe you have an office space and you condensed, so you have to kind of layer when people come in to share that office space so you can keep it safe. And what is the response if someone is working at home, if you're emailing each other? I know that was a real issue for some of our members, was the communication. How do we communicate with each other? When should I expect a response? And setting those clear expectations going forward. Because for so many of us, it was just emergency. Okay, you're on site today and now you're working remotely, and we didn't have a time to strategize and put good plans in place. And then what is your workplace value proposition? So how are you going to promote what would be the benefit of coming back to the office? What do you contribute? And again, one of the reasons could be we want connection. We want to bring you together so that you can collaborate and you can be creative, and that we can create a positive work culture. So determining what is that workplace value proposition that you can promote to not only your current employees, but future candidates, because we'll talk about how do we recruit and how do we promote ourselves as employers and businesses for the work strategies that we're setting up, whether it's on-site, whether it's hybrid, whether it's a flexible work schedule. We want to be able to promote that to our candidates, because that's what we're seeing that these employees want. So always just keeping in mind, we are an HR association. So keeping in mind that you do have a COVID prevention plan. What have you determined in terms of mandatory vaccinations, and what are the guidelines for your industry? It may be different than others. What are your remote work policies? Is there a specific start date, start time, and end time for the day? Identifying an employee's regular place of work. Is it going to be their home, or is it going to be your headquarters? And then how are you handling COVID outbreaks? So these, if you have any questions about any of these, this is why our hotline is so great. You can call up the 800 number and talk to any of our HR advisors and ask them questions. And if it gets a little too detailed and legal, they will have you consult a legal counsel. So one thing we found in the last, now it's been 2 years, I can't believe it, since more employers and businesses are working remotely, that it was kind of an emergency. So people weren't used to working at home. They weren't used to creating that workspace for themselves, and it can be a challenge. So if you're doing that ongoing with your employees, make sure that they've created a real workspace in their homes, that they don't still use like milk crates as desks or tables, that they have good chairs, that they have good lighting. All of those things are can really help engagement, that they can have somewhat of a private space, knowing that we can't build an office space for each employee that's working remotely, but we can do as much as we can. It goes back to reasonable accommodations. We can't build a an office for everybody, but we can help them maybe with an ergonomic chair, or getting the lighting that they need, anything that we can help, bringing them the monitor from the office that will help them navigate their jobs better. They need the tools and resources that they had in the workspace, in their new workspace, in a remote situation. And then advice to those who are still relatively newer to working remotely. Some people have done it for years and they're experts at it, but it's reducing the distractions. When you're at home, one of the distractions can be the people around you. If you have a significant other, if you have small children or even teenage children, if you have animals, how do you reduce those distractions? How do you reduce the distractions of, oh my gosh, I see that the dishes in the sink need to be cleaned. So really developing a routine will help, saying, okay, I'm going to step into my work mode and then I'll take a break, and that's when I can focus on the kitchen. That's when I can focus on the kids. That's when I can focus on my animals. Really developing a routine. One reason people really do enjoy going to an actual on-site location for work is because they're physically leaving their personal lives and going to an actual work site. So developing that in our brains at home can help us set us up for success. And staying connected. It can be really easy to feel isolated from your workplace and from your colleagues and peers that you used to see on site if you're not staying connected. So of course, obviously having tools such as Zoom, whatever platforms that you use at your business or establishment, and utilizing those on an ongoing basis. One thing that we did at CEA at the very beginning of the pandemic was our CEO decided to have daily staff meetings, and that was on Zoom, and we all had to be on camera, and we were still adjusting to this at that point. We were hesitant about being on camera, sharing our rooms that we were in and all of that. And what it really did was it really helped us stay connected more than anything else. Of course, as HR professionals, we needed to stay updated with all of the compliance issues, but it was just being able to check in with each other every day at that point and say, gosh, this is a lot. I'm really struggling with this. And being able to have those regular conversations of what are you doing to stay sane? What are you doing to stay healthy? What are you doing to entertain yourselves was so helpful to us. And we still do that to this day. We don't have everyday staff meetings, and we're a staff of about 23. We're down to about once a week, but we still have been connected tremendously just by having that one form, that one platform that we knew we needed to go to at a certain time every day. So make sure that you stay connected with each other, and then set daily goals for yourself, and remember to take those breaks. This morning, I have a little bird feeder outside my kitchen, and I went and checked in on the birds. I just needed that little fresh air, that little break before I started my workday remotely. So I'm just curious, any of those of you that are still working remotely or in a hybrid situation, any tools for success of working from home that you have, please feel free to share those in the chat. I would love to learn some new tips. So another area that has become really important to employees as they evaluated their work situations during the pandemic and even previous to the pandemic is the emphasis on professional growth. And because we are in a transformation of the workforce, technology is just changing, ever changing so fast and furious. We want to be able to provide that professional growth for our employees. So again, another survey, 68% of employees surveyed said they want to learn while they're at work. we are curious as humans. We want to learn and grow, and we want to learn and grow about what we need in our professional roles and for our professional growth within our industries. So 49% said they would prefer to learn what's necessary to improve their skills. So going back to navigating a virtual Zoom meeting at the beginning of the pandemic, it was kind of a challenge for some of us. You know, we didn't know how to navigate all the tools, and it really brought us together as humans, as we were going to work this out together. So now I think I'm pretty skilled at it, but I want and crave some more to learn more about the technical skills that I need in terms of training and development. 56% of employees said they would take a manager suggested course. And what we found employees really want today is they want coaches. They don't want bosses. They want people who engage them, ask their opinion, where do you want to see yourself, and really mentor them. And it doesn't always necessarily have to be the manager who's the sole coach. It can be your peers. We have a phrase, mentoring up and mentoring down. So no matter what level you're at, you can always learn from someone else. And definitely in terms of technology, I can learn from other people, and I can also share my knowledge with other people, and it can divide the barrier of manager and employee. It can be peers. It can be just I have that strength, so I'm going to share this with you because you want to learn it. And 80% of employees who have received coaching experience a positive impact. They're highly engaged. They know somebody cares about their professional growth and really wants to help them achieve those goals and help them get there. It's about not telling someone what to do, but asking someone what they want to learn and how they want to grow. And for some managers, they haven't been coached, so they may not have those skills. So that's an opportunity for professional growth for managers and supervisors, because they're the ones who highly influence the employees. So you want to make sure that they have the skills needed going forward in those areas. So yes, we are experiencing the Great Resignation, and it started back in April of last year. There was a record 4 million people who quit their jobs, the highest recorded number in 20 years. And I just want to hear from you. What are some of the things that you've observed why people are leaving their place of employment? So what are some things that you think? Don't be shy, put it in the chat. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of evaluation. Thank you for that. Fear of what's happening, fear of not going back to an environment that's safe, health-wise, just poor leadership. That again, this was an opportunity during the pandemic for employees to really get insight. They had a greater lens into how their leadership was. How did they navigate through this great change that they were experiencing? And maybe they hadn't been able to observe a great change in their workplace before. And this was an opportunity, and many employees felt let down. And so it caused them to start reconsidering what they wanted and where they wanted to go. And so many people have left, and they're continuing to leave. So thank you for that. So if you are in that position right now where you are trying to recruit new employees, some of the trends that we're seeing is virtual recruiting is not going away. And as a recruiter for CEA, it has just been so much more efficient to be able to contact people and schedule an interview via Zoom or via a virtual platform. Also to look for new candidates passively on the different job boards, LinkedIn, professional sites. So it's really not going away. It's a lot easier for businesses as well. Before, as a recruiter, we used to work with our hiring managers and our businesses, and maybe 2 or 3 of the hiring managers or the team would be in a different location or it'd be offsite. And so trying to coordinate all of them for an in-person interview was just a struggle. But you can schedule a Zoom interview, panel interview, really fairly easy depending on people's schedules. And right now, we really encourage our businesses to schedule those second interviews, those third interviews right away, because candidates have a lot of opportunities and they're following up on those opportunities if they don't hear back from people. We have experienced it several times over the last 6 months where one of our managers didn't get back to the person right away, and they were hired. They were already hired, so they lost that opportunity to even interview that person. What we're seeing is that there is an increase in competition. So our job postings really need to switch from what we expect as employers and businesses to what we offer the candidates, right? It's that radio station, WIIFM, what's in it for me. So we really want to promote what are our benefits, what are our assets, what does our culture look like? And we want to really give them an idea, the candidates an idea of what it would look like, even that quick, brief job posting. We want to give them an idea of what it would look like to work there. Many companies are doing signing bonuses. Many of the businesses we work with, we really encourage them to do a signing bonus. And we know some businesses, have, endless budgets, but sometimes just giving that good faith, like we really want to hire you and this is what we can offer you as a bonus to get you in, can make an impact. Obviously, giving them the salary that they desire, accommodating comparable with what you can offer is good too, but a signing bonus can really help seal the deal. Back, I'd say at the mid-end of 2021, we saw that some of those struggling fast food chains and retailers were paying people $50 or offering them iPhones for interviews, but they weren't getting candidates. So I think it's really salary in terms of hiring people, at a livable wage, which is really going to help. Another trend, obviously, passive recruiting. We're not getting the applicants, so we have to go find them. So we're doing that at CEA. We have an attorney position where nobody's really responding. So we have to go find them ourselves. We have to get our networks and we have to look for people who are already employed. And that's just the way that it is right now. And then artificial intelligence is really just the advanced technology that a lot of recruiting and even companies are implementing to screen people better. So it's really getting very advanced. So that's some of the trends that we're going to see not only in 2022, but just moving forward. And then what do employers need today in terms of skills? And I'm sure taking a look at some of these you can absolutely resonate with. Number 1 and number 2, analytical skills. We have so much access to data because of the advancements in technology, but do we have the people who can analyze that data and really do something with it? And many companies across industries really are struggling to find those workers. Another one is the remote work skills. There are some companies and employers who didn't have people who could really thrive in that independent environment. And when you're working remotely, you're responsible for what you're getting done and what you're not getting done. So really having those time management skills, the routine, the discipline, the focus, the responsibility, those are what we used to call soft skills, but they're essential skills. These are work skills that we really need, employers really need, as we are transitioning into a different and a little bit more independent work environment. So those are things. So if you are one of those employees that you are really great independently, this is what employers want, because they aren't going to be able to micromanage you. If you're 20 miles away, if you're 200 miles away, you're really going to have to be independent. So that's something employers are looking for going forward. Obviously, resilience and adaptability. I can't think of any other time in the last 20 years where all industries have had to be so extremely resilient and so extremely adaptable to change. Every day could have been, you can be incurring change and trying to think of something new. And also, how do you sustain your business, and how do you pivot, and how do you promote that creativity and innovation within your organization? So they're looking for those people that have that creativity, who are innovators, who do think of the future. And a lot of companies focus on project management. So people who really know how to get a project done, who can meet those deadlines, who can build those relationships with their team members, and energize them and motivate them and coach them so that you can get those projects done. And we're really seeing people really are recognizing, especially as we stated before with the poor leadership, employers and employees alike need emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is just having the self-awareness of, how am I coming across to my coworkers, to my colleagues, to my customers? How am I managing myself, my time, my organization? How am I managing others? And how do others perceive me? And how am I adapting and making the necessary changes? So emotional intelligence is really high on those needed skills. And we've seen it play out in the media, some leaders who really haven't demonstrated high emotional intelligence. I won't say any names, but we've seen it. And employers, just like employees, want a commitment to lifelong learning. They want employees who want to continue to learn and grow, because that is where we are at. We are at a fast pace of change. So we're always going to be learning new skills, new processes, new programs, new technology. So we want employees who want to learn. And then employers want leadership, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a position where you are a manager or a supervisor, but people within your team who can be natural leaders, who can have those creative ideas, who can say, gosh, I disagree, and be able to have those healthy dialogues and healthy discussions about where a project or where the work should go. And with all of that, we're all learning digital communication, all the multiple platforms, how we can stay connected with each other, when it's important to pick up the phone, when we can just send an instant message, when we need to really be careful with how we're stating our email, because we're using all of those modalities still all the time. So we want to be able to be at a mastered skill at that. It's ongoing, but we want to master those skills. Okay, so another poll for you. Where do you, if you do have job openings, where are you currently posting your current job opportunities? So I'm going to put this in the poll. Go to poll 2. Okay, I'll give you another second. I think we got it all here. I'm going to share the results. So let's see, all of the above, 55%, excellent. Then the second was job boards, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Monster, 9% social media sites, D, 9% our career page on our website, and no industry association boards. You know, that may, sometimes those can be very beneficial, sometimes not. But good to know that 55% was all of the above because we are in the great resignation. So we want to be able to utilize all of our resources. And as Jerry mentioned, you can utilize the resource of the Workforce Development Board. They have job fairs. They can help you recruit. They have the resources to help you promote your businesses as employers as well. But I'm going to mention one thing about social media sites, because that was kind of low. And even at CEA, we weren't really using social media to the best of our ability, probably about 3 years ago. And then we hired our marketing director, and we have really increased our social media use. Even as recruiters, we'll utilize our own social media to promote jobs for others. And I'm just going to ask you a question. Why do you think we use social media more as recruiters? Why are recruiters starting to use social media more? And put it in the chat. Yes, yes. Because I can imagine that all of you, as much as you are engaged in this webinar, probably have your smartphone very close by to you, and you probably are on 1 or 2 social media sites. So number one, it's very easy for people to engage on social media. And number 2, that's where everybody is. They're checking their social media. So it's more likely that they're going to see your job posting on social media than it is on a job board. And also the other aspect that we're seeing kind of switch is that candidates want to be able to apply to jobs on their phones. And many, especially the younger generations, if they aren't able to apply for a job on a social media site, they might not apply at all. So something to consider. And by no means do you have to be on all social media. Use the social media that would work for your business or you as an employer. We primarily have the most connections for us at CEA is LinkedIn, because that's the most professional. That's where we have our network. We interact with different workforce development boards, other businesses, previous attendees for trainings, recruiters. That's where all of our connections are. So we're going to share anything we can in hopes that they're going to spread the word as well. So that's another reason that you want to be able to utilize social media. Job boards, they're there, but sometimes they're not checking them. They're not checking them as fast. Obviously, they incur prices and things like that. So social media is really where a lot of employers are going to these days. Also on your own website, creating a career page or creating your job postings on the website so they can learn a little bit more about you. A lot of companies even do produce videos because we are a visual society these days. We want to be able to see something in 6 seconds. We want to be able to see a video about what your workplace looks like, about what your employees are doing and how they're feeling about the workplace. So all of the above would be the best answer, but whatever you can do to build on the exposure and how the people that you want to target are going to see it is something to think about, because it is so competitive right now. And then I am hoping that none of you are experiencing these pain points in recruiting, but these are some of the things that we hear from our members. Again, difficult for my ad to stand out from the crowd. And if you are a smaller business or a smaller employer, how do you compete with an Amazon if you have a similar product or service, a brand name employer? Follow up to increase candidate response rate. Candidates have so much opportunity and so many choices these days. So you really want to make sure to get a hold of those candidates immediately, get those interviews scheduled. Our members turn to us because they have so much going on. They're dealing with COVID. They're dealing with their day-to-day struggles. So they return to us and they say, gosh, I can't do all of this. I have all my daily tasks. I don't have the bandwidth to schedule the interview right away because I'm doing XYZ 1, 2, 3. So we understand. So sometimes it's okay to say, I need help. I need help with this recruiting because it is different times and it isn't the same as it was 2 years ago. It's not the same as it was a year ago. Getting ghosted, I hope you're not experiencing a lot of that, but I've definitely been experiencing people not getting back to me. And, you know, the tables have turned. When we work with job seekers, that was their pain point was, gosh, the employer isn't getting back to me. I thought I had a great interview and they never responded back. So now they're starting to feel the repercussions, and the job seekers are doing the same thing. But it's just they're getting offers, they're getting jobs, so they don't need to respond. Sometimes I always say you need to be professional no matter what. Let someone know you were hired, because you don't want to burn any bridges, because there could be an opportunity where you are laid off in the future. And so you want to go back to that employer and say, gosh, I was interested in your employment, and I'm available now. Too many unsuitable candidates, right? We need to get candidates who have the skills that we want in our workplaces. And then tough to engage with candidates, again, sourced online. And we use the trifecta at CEA. We call, we email, we text. That's one way we've had success with getting a hold of people, and we call it the contact trifecta. And actually it happened when we were hiring last year. One of our sales positions was open, and the sales director emailed the person and they didn't email back, and they were ready to say, hey, I'm done. And I said, no, that could have gone into that spam rabbit hole. So I'll go ahead and call and text them, and we were able to hire that person. So sometimes you just have to follow through. And contact. All those digital platforms can be a benefit, and they can also be a challenge. Also developing your employer brand, from the job posting, creating a realistic job description. A lot of times we have employers who want that unicorn, that purple unicorn, and you really need to be realistic. Some of them, you can even list what's ideal, and what are the main job descriptions, but we want to be able to hire someone and see potential and growth, right? And again, creating that employer brand in your job posting so that you're designing that compelling ad, showing that candidate what they can expect when they come to work for you. And sometimes we're not all masters, we're not all word wizards, so you might need help with that. And one suggestion, if you do have a marketing team, maybe they help you design that job posting, if you're not able to, or if you just don't think it's up to speed. Maybe you have a social media expert or specialist. Maybe you do reach out to a consultant. You want to speed up your hiring process. I think I've said it enough, but I'll say it one more time. Candidates are getting hired fast. So you don't want to have someone waiting too long, because they will find other work. And then we feel at CEA that candidate experience matters from the minute you contact them. Your initial contact, it should be professional. You should know who they are, know their name, have a professional email, give them updates, let them know if there is a pause in the interviewing process, what is the pause, and when they can expect to hear from you. Because again, you want them, even if they get hired, maybe down the road, they have an opportunity where they can come back and work with you. So you want that, again, to show your employer brand. That candidate experience is going to give them insight to what it would be like to work with you. And then definitely go back to those paused candidates and see what's happening with them. Maybe you have been able to reconfigure a salary or a work schedule or whatever things that may have paused them before. So look at those again. But it really is, it's a hard world out there. I feel your pain, but you really do need to present yourself and promote yourself just as you do with your brand. With your customers, you have to do that with job candidates because they have lots of options. Interviews, not too much different. I already talked about how we are going virtual. Yes, Tara?
Hey, Keisha, I just wanted to add a little humor about that last slide and just the mere fact of following up and just not thinking people are blowing you off. I heard this very funny interview with Heidi Klum of all people, and she had emailed somebody like Tom Jones to produce a song that she had, and she just put it out there and then never heard back and thought she had gotten blown off. And somebody finally said to her, "Did you look in your spam?" And sure enough, he had responded, but it was in spam. So it definitely pays to look in the spam file.
That is a great story, Tara. And I mean, it happens. It happens all the time. And it really is our default. Email is our default. And we just assume that we got the email address right, that it didn't go to spam. So when in doubt, if you have that great candidate, make sure, again, we're all have our smartphones right next to us. So if I can text someone and let them know who I am, I have done that multiple times with candidates, and they said, "Oh gosh, I didn't see your email. Oh gosh, it was in spam. Oh gosh, it was in junk. Oh, I don't have that email anymore. They forgot to update their email on their resume." So sometimes it's worth it to invest the time. And if you don't, as the hiring manager, maybe have an assistant help track down that candidate, right? There's options for you. But we know interviews have definitely gone virtual, all kinds of platforms. And we definitely, at the beginning of the pandemic, we're helping job seekers get acclimated to that type of interview, and just getting them familiar with the technology and having a professional background. But the same goes for businesses and employers. Make sure if you are conducting your virtual interview that you have everything in place, that you know what's doing. And we all have learned a lot of grace in the meantime when things go awry, but just making sure that you're presenting yourselves in a professional manner so that candidates aren't thinking, wow, they don't know the technology at this company. Again, they're getting impressions from their interactions with you just as much as you are with them. And I think I already mentioned there's an increase in the initial panel interviews because it's just easier to get all of the people together in a virtual platform than it is when we were doing them on site. So making those can happen a lot faster than when you're trying to schedule things in the actual office. And then reasonable accommodations, of course, even when we're interviewing candidates, we want to make sure that those interviews are accessible for everybody and that they're able to participate in the interviews. So whatever you need to do with the candidate to make sure that they have a reasonable accommodation, we want to continue to do that. And then this is a slide that we've used with our job seekers when they're looking for jobs is how do you sell yourself as a brand as a candidate? Well, again, you want to sell your company culture online. So if you don't have a presence online, how are those job candidates going to find you? How are they going to see you? And one example that I've always used is Oakley. They do the sunglasses and surf and snow wear. They were on Twitter and they promoted a job fair they were having just on Twitter because they knew that the people that were following them on Twitter were already interested in them as a company, and they posted a job fair only for their Twitter followers, and they had a job fair at the beach and they were able to interview candidates, but it was because they already knew those people were already somewhat interested in them as a company and probably would represent them well. So look for those social media outlets that you know are going to be your target areas. It doesn't have to be Instagram, it doesn't have to be Facebook, but where do you think your target audience is going to be looking? We used to tell job seekers that, if you're an expert in something, if you have a specialty, create a YouTube video. Well, as a company, you could create a YouTube video or even put that video on your website to say, this is what our culture looks like. This is what it would look like to work for us. So this is where we're heading. We really do right now with this great resignation. We have to promote ourselves and promote our company brand and be consistent with it. So no matter if I'm talking to your initial recruiter and I'm talking to your CEO, you're all promoting the same brand and the same culture. And then retaining best employees. If we've learned anything from this pandemic, it's that the workforce needs and desires have shifted, and we want to be able to retain our best employees. So we want to learn from them. What do they need from us? What can we do to help make them stay? And this is just one more survey that people really want a healthy corporate culture, and 34% in this survey said that that was the reason they were job hunting, was because of the corporate culture. It was an unhealthy work environment. Maybe they didn't have empathetic or managers who were highly emotionally intelligent. 92% said they would stay if their managers showed more empathy. So if we think about professional development, maybe some of our managers could benefit from having a training on emotional intelligence. For some of us, it's a strength. We have empathy. We naturally care about our employees, our coworkers, our team members. But for some people, they have to build on that. But the good news is that you can improve your emotional intelligence. It's just about if you have the desire to or not. And then engagement, 59% less likely to seek out a new job if they're engaged at work. And being engaged at work means I feel valued, I feel appreciated, I feel recognized, I feel safe, and I can do my best work. So back in 2021, we discovered this company called Work Human, and they wrote a book called Making Work Human. And really the philosophy of the company is how to lead more with humanity, how to make that connection with our employees as humans, right? We want to create that belonging, that purpose for them, and have people be excited to work where they're working, because we know life happens even when we're at work. We've seen that during the pandemic. We've seen coworkers who've been ill, who've lost loved ones, who've lost opportunities, who've lost businesses, who've lost work. So life happens to us regardless. So keeping that in mind, that as employers and as managers and supervisors, we really want to be aware of that. And when we are leading with humanity, it's a lot easier to recruit and to retain our employees. We get better performance from our employees. We get improved customer service, because if our employees are happy, they're treating our customers well, and increased profits. So it's just about that awareness and what do we need to do to make sure that we are leading with humanity. And what they've developed at Work Human is 3 pillars of how to make work more human, and it makes it really easy to remember. Number 1 is thanking people. Thanking people is when our gratitude is turned into action. And according to Gallup, if you are recognized, if employees are recognized at least once every 7 days, then they're more highly engaged. And I don't think anybody's over appreciated in this world, right? At work, in personal lives. Anybody raise their hand? Let me know in the chat. Keisha, I'm over appreciated. I get thanked too much. But it's that feeling of belonging. It's that feeling when you thank someone, it's that feeling of being appreciated for the work I do. And that gives me more purpose when I get recognized and acknowledged for what I do. Number 2 is talking, communicating, how we share our sense of meaning between us as an organization and as individuals. So communicating, as I mentioned, when we're working remotely, when we're feeling isolated, we really need to engage even more in communicating and checking in with people and seeing where are the obstacles and where are the challenges. And then number 3 is celebrate. How do we share our humanity and our common purpose? And thanking, they found when you have peer-to-peer recognition in the workplace, it can be even more impactful than when your manager recognizes or thanks you, because some of us kind of assume that our manager at some point is going to recognize or appreciate us, but we really feel seen when it's our peers and our colleagues recognizing us. And the other thing about recognizing in the workplace and thanking in the workplace is it's contagious, it's positive, it sends good vibes. So just being able to recognize people for what they do for you, large and small, no matter their title, no matter their department, can really increase the engagement in a work environment. And when we said about work culture, people who leave because of work culture, it's usually because one of the reasons is they didn't get a lot of recognition, they didn't feel valued, they didn't feel heard, and they didn't feel seen. So this doesn't cost any money at all. You can thank people simply by saying the words, thank you. Talking, finding out what are the obstacles, what do our employees want, whether it's educating the leadership team on what are the obstacles within your departments, what do employees want by giving them a survey, kind of gauging the waters, whether it's creating a DEI committee, incorporating those one-on-one meetings, having regular conversations. Regular conversations means, Tara, how was your weekend? I heard, you were going up to the mountains. How was that? Because sometimes when we're on these Zoom meetings, we skip over that talk that we get on site when we're just getting into work. So make sure to have those regular conversations to keep things human, and those regular check-ins. Don't have to be 10 minutes. They don't have to be 20 minutes. They can be 5 minutes. How are you doing? What can I do for you? Do you need something from me? Simple. And lastly, celebrate. I know we've been through so much in the last couple of years that celebrating is more meaningful than ever before. So celebrate the wins, big and small. We got through the work, everybody. We got through the week. Everybody, let's celebrate. Maybe you want to expand the company holiday calendar, recognizing people's life events that they achieve. People get married during work, they have babies, they get MBAs, they graduate, they have all kinds of things, they buy new houses, all these things you want to celebrate and have that human connection with each other and say, we recognize this, we celebrate this with you. These are 3 simple things you can do to create more of a work human environment. So getting to the end of this, guys, you've got this. We've gone through this for the last couple of years. We're going to continue to be resilient and adaptable. Be the coach for your employees. Be supportive with challenges. Identify what are the areas that you can improve upon with your company culture. Embrace the workplace flexibility. It can be even a small thing. Maybe you can't provide a hybrid workplace for everybody, but what can you do? And ask your employees what they want. And that's how you will lead with humanity. I think that is all. I'm going to give it back to Tara.
I'm here. I just can't find my cursor. That was awesome, Keisha. Thank you so much. Thanks for the participation too. It's always fun to get people's input. So thanks for the polls and all that stuff. Just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded and it will be available on the Monterey Workforce Board's website. I did put that into the chat. We do have some continuing education codes. They're on the screen right now. The HRCI code is 580128. Excuse me, and the SHRM code is 22-FNM as in Mary QZ. Be sure to put the dash in between the 22 and the F, otherwise it won't work. So with that, I'm going to give it back to Jerry. Jerry, it's all yours. Thank you again.
I want to thank the California Employers Association for doing a nice job. It was very interesting. It tied in nicely. I mentioned when opening and welcoming the group that the Workforce Board is providing a February virtual job fair. And in the chat, I've put the contact information. It will be held on Wednesday, February 16th, at 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. The contact person is Jose Camacho, and you can call him 831-796-3307. What we're doing is making sure that employers that have businesses in Monterey County are able to join our event. We're finding that we're getting employers from outside the areas and outside the states that are trying to encourage our job seekers to work with them. So yeah, we are helping to make sure we're focusing on helping our local employers. We also want to mention that our next webinar will be held, which is on the subject employee handbooks. It's going to be held on Thursday, February 17th, 12 to 1:30 p.m. You'll be getting information on that as well, flyers, but I did want to mention that. So again, as was mentioned, there are many free services. Everything we offer is free, so there's no charge on that. We've established a very nice working relationship with the California Employers Association. And there's a lot to offer. Please reach out. We're here to sincerely help you and assist you. We can share what we've learned. And we've learned a lot in terms of especially this using virtual job fairs. That's a nice resource, especially during the climate. People feel safer. You're able to follow up, you're able to engage people, and we're learning more things. And recently, the platform we use is called Premier Virtual, and they've streamlined the system. There's a lot more robust capabilities now. And so if you have not had a chance to be a part of that, it's a nice opportunity. We have good training for the employers. And what we're also finding, by the way, is that employers now recognize that we need to all send messaging out to job seekers, irrespective. So it's not, I need to compete against you. The name of the game now is we got to cooperate together to make this thing work and help everybody, survive through this process. And we're finding that's what's being created, really nice collaborations. And so that's one of the lessons learned that we're finding. And the virtual platform is one tool that we're using very effectively. So again, look forward to meeting you at the next webinar, or if you'd like to call me, you can reach out and call me at work. So thank you so much, and thank you for being a part of this event.
Thank you, everybody. And I did just put all that information back into the chat, so all of that is in there, just so it's the most current. So thank you, everybody. Again, be safe, be healthy, keep your head on straight. Everything's going to be fine. And have a great rest of your day. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.